6 months after the war that lasted 3 days, Secretary of Galactic Affairs So Jin sat in a chamber that had been specially designed to make aliens feel safe. The room had no corners where predators might hide, soft lighting that wouldn't cast threatening shadows, and walls made of transparent crystal, so everyone could see there were no surprises waiting. Across from her sat what remained of the coalition's leadership. Ambassador Huansu had survived the destruction of his fleet, though his crystalline form now showed stress fractures that would never fully heal. Emperor Stahl's metallic carapace had lost its shine, and Admiral Kestha's energy patterns flickered with exhaustion. "Thank you for agreeing to these talks," So Jin said gently. "I know this is difficult for all of you." Ambassador Huansu's voice was barely a whisper. "We had no choice. Your species has made choice irrelevant for us." So Jin winced. The coalition wasn't entirely wrong. Humanity had ended the war by proving they could destroy the entire galactic civilization without breaking a sweat. But that wasn't what humans wanted. "We need to establish new terms for coexistence," So Jin continued. "The old system where one species dictated terms to another, that's over. It has to be." Emperor Stahl's compound eyes focused on her with something that might have been hope. "What do humans want?" "To be left alone to live our lives," So Jin replied. "Same as you. The difference is we're willing to fight for that right." "And in return?" So Jin activated the holographic display at the center of the table. Star charts appeared, showing the vast galactic map with human-controlled territory marked in red. It was a tiny fraction of the galaxy, but everyone in the room knew it represented the most dangerous space in known existence. "We offer protection," So Jin said. "The galaxy is bigger than just the coalition. There are other threats out there, ancient AI networks that went dark millions of years ago, cosmic phenomena that could wipe out entire systems, and potentially other species like us that you haven't discovered yet." Admiral Kestha's energy form pulsed with confusion. "You would protect us? After we attacked you?" "You attacked us because you were afraid and didn't know any better," So Jin replied. "We defended ourselves because that's what predators do. But now we know better too." Engineer Tae-hyun entered the chamber, pushing a floating display that showed technical specifications. "If I may, Secretary?" So Jin nodded, and Tae-hyun activated his presentation. "We've been working on joint technology projects, combining coalition efficiency with human paranoia." The display showed ship designs that were both beautiful and deadly. Sleek alien hulls reinforced with human armor, elegant energy weapons backed up by kinetic systems, advanced alien shields protected by human point defense networks. "The Vorthak, trade vessel Morningstar, was attacked by pirates last week," Tae-hyun explained. "The retrofitted human defensive systems destroyed the attackers before they could even get close." Emperor Stahl's mandibles clicked with interest. "Our trade routes have become completely safe since humans began patrolling them. Crime rates have dropped 90% in human-protected space," added Admiral Kestha. "Most criminals surrender immediately when they hear humans are investigating." Ambassador Huansu's stress fractures seemed to pulse with dim light. "Your reputation has become a weapon by itself." "That's the point," So Jin said. "We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. There's a difference." The truth was more complex than what So Jin was saying, and everyone in the room knew it. Humanity had become the galaxy's apex predator by accident, and now they were learning to live with that responsibility. Captain Jun Seo commanded the joint human coalition vessel New Harmony, the first ship crewed by both species. It had taken months of careful preparation and psychological conditioning to make it work. "Status report," Jun Seo requested from his human crew. "All systems nominal, Captain," replied Lieutenant Hyojin. "The alien crew members are adapting well to human presence." That was an understatement. It had taken weeks just to get the aliens to stop fainting when humans entered the room. Dr. Su Young had developed an entire treatment programmed to help alien crew members cope with predator anxiety. The breakthrough had come when Ensign Dalvin, a young Vorthak engineer, had accidentally walked in on human crew members during their mealtime. Instead of the terrifying feeding frenzy he expected, he found humans sharing food and laughing together. They hunt together, but they also protect together, Dalvin had reported to his superiors. Their pack instincts include loyalty and care for group members. It was the beginning of understanding. Humans were predators, but they were social predators. They didn't just kill, they also protected, nurtured, and sacrificed for their pack. Members Ambassador Hyunju worked from the New Human Coalition Cultural Exchange Center, trying to bridge the gap between two completely different ways of understanding the universe. Her job was to help alien species learn to live with predators, without dying of fear. The key, she explained to a group of coalition diplomats, is understanding that humans are not mindless killers. We're intelligent predators with complex social structures. The diplomats, all from herbivorous species, struggled to comprehend the concept. To them, intelligence and violence were opposites. The idea of smart predators was like imagining fire that was also water. Think of it this way, Hyunju continued. Humans hunt in packs, but we also protect in packs. If you're part of our pack, we'll die before we let anything hurt you. And if we're not part of your pack, asked a trembling delegate from the Harmony Seekers, then we leave you alone, as long as you don't threaten us or our pack members. It was a simple concept, but revolutionary for species that had evolved entirely different survival strategies. 5 years after the Coalition War, the galaxy had settled into a new normal. Trade flourished under human protection. Scientific advancement accelerated as species learned to combine their different approaches to problem solving. Even tourism increased as some brave aliens came to see the legendary death world that had produced such terrifying protectors. But not everyone had adapted to the new reality. Admiral Seong-min stood on the bridge of the patrol ship Seoul's Guardian, intercepting a transmission that had become depressingly familiar. A new species recently discovered by coalition scouts was broadcasting demands for submission to their authority. The hegemony of supreme truth had just made contact with the galaxy and immediately declared themselves the rightful rulers of all lesser species. Their transmission was full of threats, ultimatums, and promises of punishment for any who dared resist. Sir, reported Communications Officer Mi Young, they're demanding that all coalition worlds surrender within 10 standard days. Admiral, Seong-min sighed. Another bunch that thinks bigger ships mean automatic victory. Have they been informed about humans? Unknown, sir. They may not have received the standard coalition briefings yet. Well, they're about to get an education. Seong-min activated the response channel. This is Admiral Seong-min of the Human Galactic Defense Force. You are currently threatening species under human protection. Withdraw immediately. The response came quickly, broadcast on all frequencies with typical New Empire arrogance. Humans? We have no record of this species. You will surrender with the rest of the primitive beings, or face the consequences. Admiral Seong-min looked at his crew and saw the same expression on every face, the look humans got when someone was about to learn an expensive lesson. Mi Young, prepare the standard educational package. Yes, sir. Transmitting now. The hegemony of supreme truth received a data package that started with archived footage from the Coalition War. Images of crystalline ships exploding under kinetic bombardment. Coalition fleets fleeing in terror from human interceptors. Aliens, dying from fear-induced shock at the mere sight of human soldiers. The transmission included a simple message. Congratulations. You just declared war on the galaxy's most lethal species. This is how that worked out for the last guys who tried it. The footage continued with scenes from human history, thousands of years of warfare, violence, and creative destruction. It showed human children learning to fight before they could properly walk. It demonstrated human persistence hunting, where early humans would chase prey animals for days until the animals died of exhaustion. Finally, it showed the current state of the galaxy. Peaceful trade routes patrolled by ships that could crack planets. Scientific stations protected by beings that had turned war into an art form. Diplomatic meetings where the mere presence of humans kept everyone polite and cooperative. The message ended with humanity's new motto, "We are the nightmare you never knew you needed." The hegemony's response came 6 hours later. A single word. Withdrawal. Their entire invasion fleet turned around and left coalition space without firing a shot. On the bridge of Seoul's Guardian, Admiral Seong-min marked another victory in humanity's strangest war. the war they won by reputation alone. "Sir," asked Mi Young, "do you think we'll ever find a species that isn't afraid of us?" Seung-min thought about it. "Maybe, but honestly, I hope not." "Why?" "Because any species that isn't afraid of humans is probably something we should be afraid of." As the years passed, the galaxy settled into its new order. Humans patrolled the space lanes, keeping peace through the simple threat of their presence. The news traveled faster than the Coalition's fleeing ships. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in peace for millions of years learned that something impossible had happened. The Great Coalition fleet, pride of galactic civilization, had been destroyed by a primitive species using weapons that civilized beings had abandoned eons ago. President Yoon-ji sat in the Crisis Management Center beneath Seoul, watching as panic spread through Coalition space. Intelligence reports flooded in from human deep space monitoring stations, each one more disturbing than the last. "Ma'am," reported Admiral Hyun-woo, "we're detecting massive civilian evacuations from 17 Coalition core worlds. Entire planets are abandoning their colonies." "They're running from us?" "Yes, ma'am, but it gets worse. We're intercepting communications that suggest some species are considering extreme measures." President Yoon-ji frowned. "Define extreme." Dr. Soo-young stepped forward, her medical expertise suddenly relevant in ways she had never imagined. "Ma'am, we're receiving reports of mass suicides among several Coalition species. They're apparently choosing death over the possibility of human contact." The weight of those words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Humanity had set out to defend itself and had accidentally become the galaxy's nightmare. "How many?" Yoon-ji asked quietly. "Initial estimates suggest millions, ma'am. The number is growing." On the Coalition world of Crystal Falls, Chief Administrator Hyethna tried to maintain order as her people prepared to abandon their homeworld. The Silicate Confederacy had built this world over 10,000 years, shaping it into a masterpiece of living art. Now they were fleeing from it because humans might arrive. "Administrator," called her aide, "we're receiving requests from other sectors. They want to know if humans are really as dangerous as the reports suggest." Hyethna looked at the tactical analysis scrolling across her display. In every engagement, Coalition forces had been outmaneuvered, outfought, and destroyed by enemies using weapons that shouldn't have been effective. The humans fought like they understood something about warfare that the Coalition had forgotten existed. "Tell them," she said quietly, "that the humans destroyed our finest fleet in 30 minutes using rocks and metal rods. Tell them that our weapons didn't even slow them down. What should we do? Run. Run as fast and as far as we can and hope they don't follow." But humans were following. Commander Jae-sung led the humanitarian fleets, trying to reach Coalition worlds before panic could cause more deaths. His ships were unarmed medical vessels, clearly marked with peaceful intentions, but they still caused terror wherever they appeared. "This is Commander Jae-sung of the Human Medical Corps," he broadcast to the fleeing aliens. "We are here to provide assistance, not to attack. Please do not harm yourselves." The response was heartbreaking. Entire colonies would rather die than accept help from humanity. Species that had lived for millions of years without violence chose extinction over contact with predators. Dr. Soo-young worked desperately in the medical bays of the human ships, trying to treat aliens who were dying from psychological trauma. "I've never seen anything like this," she reported to Earth Command. "Their nervous systems are shutting down from stress. Just being near humans is killing them. Can you help them?" "I'm trying, but their biology isn't designed for this level of fear." Imagine if a human met a creature from their worst nightmare, except the nightmare was real and impossible to escape. On Earth, xenoarchaeologist Namsu made a discovery that changed everything. Deep in the ruins of an ancient Coalition site, he found records that explained why the galaxy's species were so helpless against humanity. General Tae-jin, Namsu, called from the dig site, "You need to see this." The holographic display showed a star map from millions of years ago. The galaxy looked very different. Thousands of species, but with clear distinctions between different types. "What am I looking at?" Tae-jin asked. "The galaxy as it existed before the Coalition was formed," Namsu explained. "Look at these markers. Red dots indicate predator species. Blue dots show prey species. The ancient map was roughly half red, half blue. Now look at this, Namsu said, switching to a modern galactic map. The current map was entirely blue except for one tiny red dot. In the outer rim, Earth. What happened to all the predators? Taejin asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. The coalition happened, Namsu replied grimly. These records show a systematic campaign over millions of years. Every predator species was either pacified through genetic modification or eliminated entirely. The coalition created a galaxy populated entirely by prey animals. General Taejin stared at the display. We're the first predator species they've encountered in millions of years. The first natural predator, yes. They've created a galactic civilization that has no defenses against us because they eliminated everything like us long ago. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just stumbled into a war, they had emerged into a galaxy specifically designed to be defenseless against them. Back in Coalition space, the 3,000-ship armada assembled at Nexus Point, the largest military gathering in galactic history. But even as they prepared to launch the final assault on human space, doubt crept through the ranks. Admiral Kesitha of the Ethereal Collective studied the tactical projections with growing despair. How do we fight an enemy that turns everything into a weapon? The humans have weaponized asteroids, debris fields, and apparently empty space itself, reported her tactical officer. Our scouts report hidden installations throughout their territory. Every approach vector is covered by weapons we can't detect until they fire. General Zeth joined the strategy session, his metallic features showing signs of stress that his species rarely experienced. The psychological warfare is equally effective. My crews are reporting nightmares about human boarding parties. Soldiers who have never known fear are requesting transfer to non-combat duties. But it was too late to stop. The Coalition Armada was already moving toward human space, driven by desperation and the knowledge that retreat was no longer possible. Humanity had proven that peaceful coexistence was impossible, not because humans refused peace, but because their very existence terrified every other species in the galaxy. Captain Jun Seo stood on the observation deck of the human battleship, New Seoul, watching the Coalition Armada approach through long-range sensors. 3,000 ships representing the combined military might of galactic civilization, all focused on destroying humanity. Sir, reported his tactical officer, the enemy fleet is maintaining standard formation. They're approaching like this. Is a normal battle. Junseo shook his head. They still don't understand. They think this is about technology or numbers. He activated the ship's communication system. All human ships, this is the New Seoul. The enemy is approaching in force, but they're still thinking like prey animals. Implement Battle Plan Apex. Across human space, the response was immediate. Ships that had been hiding in plain sight suddenly revealed themselves. Mining stations became weapon platforms. Cargo haulers dropped their disguises and showed the warships underneath. The Coalition had been expecting to fight 40 human ships. Instead, they found themselves facing over 2,000 vessels that had been hiding in asteroid fields, behind planetary rings and in the dark spaces between worlds. But the real shock came when the human ships began moving. Instead of meeting the Coalition fleet head-on, they scattered in all directions, using tactics that no peaceful species had ever imagined. They're not fighting us, Admiral Kesta reported in confusion. They're surrounding us. Admiral Hyunwoo commanded the human response from his flagship, Busan's Vengeance. All units, remember your training. These aren't warships, they're passenger vessels with weapons attached. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and don't give them time to think. The battle that followed wasn't really a battle at all. It was a demonstration of what happened when predators met prey in an environment designed for killing. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating efficiency, and vanished before the Coalition could respond. They used the aliens' own formation against them, turning the protective fleet arrangement into a trap where damaged ships blocked their neighbors' movement. Lieutenant Wu Jin led another ground assault, this time on a Coalition command world. But what his team found there changed everything they thought they knew about war. Command, This is Ground Team Alpha, Wu Jin reported. We've secured the planetary capital, but we have a problem. Define problem, Lieutenant. Sir, there are no defenses, no military installations, no weapons, no soldiers. The entire planet is populated by civilians who are literally dying of fear. The human soldiers found themselves in cities designed for beauty and peace, inhabited by beings who had never experienced violence. When the aliens saw armed humans, their reaction was immediate and devastating. Mass psychological collapse. We're not liberating this planet, Wu Jin realized. We're destroying it just by being here. Dr. Su Young arrived with the medical teams to find a humanitarian crisis beyond imagination. Entire alien families had died from terror-induced shock. Others had simply shut down mentally, unable to process the existence of creatures evolved for violence. This has to stop, she reported to President Yunji. We're not just winning. The emergency session of the Galactic Coalition High Council convened in the crystal spires of Zenith Prime, the Coalition's capital world. Representatives from 3,000 species gathered in chambers that had never before discussed the possibility of losing a war. Emperor Stahl of the Vorthak Empire stood before the assembly, his metallic carapace reflecting the chamber's soft lights. Fellow beings, he announced, his voice carrying across the vast hall. We face an unprecedented threat. The human species has demonstrated capabilities beyond our understanding. Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembled delegates. Many had never heard the word human before today. The destruction of Ambassador Huansu's fleet was not a fluke, Stahl continued. Our analysis shows systematic preparation and advanced tactical thinking. These creatures have weaponized their entire star system. High Counselor Methta of the Silicate Confederacy rose from her crystal throne. Emperor Stahl speaks truth. Our deep space sensors now detect similar preparations in all human-controlled systems. They have been planning for war for centuries. A delegate from the Peaceful Gardens Collective, a species resembling walking flowers, trembled as she spoke. But why? What could drive any species to such preparation for violence? Dr. Velnoth, the Coalition's chief xenobiologist, activated the chamber's central display. Images of Earth appeared. Vast cities, industrial complexes, and most disturbing of all, military installations. The human homeworld is a death world, Dr. Velnoth explained. Gravity nearly twice standard, extreme weather patterns, and most concerning, it originally hosted over 50 million distinct predator species. The chamber fell silent. Every human alive today is descended from survivors of constant predation. They evolved not just to survive, but to thrive in an environment where everything was trying to kill them. Emperor Zatal's compound eyes focused on the images. Show them the cultural analysis. New images appeared. Human art, literature, and entertainment. Scenes of conflict, competition, and violence that made the peaceful species recoil in horror. They create stories about war for entertainment, Dr. Velnoth continued. They compete violently for sport. They have children study the tactics of ancient killers they call great generals. Their entire culture celebrates conflict. A delegate from the Harmony Seekers, beings of pure thought, projected confusion into the chamber. This cannot be natural evolution. No species could survive such continuous aggression. That's where you're wrong, Dr. Velnoth replied grimly. This is exactly what natural evolution produces when survival requires violence. The humans aren't broken or diseased. They're perfectly adapted for warfare. Meanwhile, in the depths of space between Earth and Mars, Fleet Admiral Young Sik surveyed humanity's greatest secret. Project Ragnarok had been in development for over a century, hidden from all alien observation. Status report. Young Sik commanded from the bridge of the dreadnought Inchen's Hammer. Commander Haywan consulted her tactical display. All weapon platforms are online, sir. We have 1,700 guided asteroids in position, each one carrying enough kinetic energy to crack a continent. And the Coalition response? Long-range sensors detect a massive fleet mobilization. Looks like they're throwing everything they have at us. Over 3,000 ships. Young Sik smiled coldly. Perfect. The more they send, the more we kill. Captain. Hyjin commanded the first wave of Project Ragnarok. Her ships weren't elegant or fast. They were armored bulldozers designed to push asteroids around like billiard balls. Each asteroid had been hollowed out, filled with guidance systems, and turned into a guided missile the size of a mountain. Units, prepare for implementation, Hyjin ordered. Remember, we only get one shot at this, make it count. On the Coalition flagship, Strategic Advisor Quintel studied the human system with growing alarm. Emperor, I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies throughout their asteroid belt. Something is moving out there. Define something, Stahl demanded. Hundreds of large objects, sir, moving in coordinated patterns toward our fleet approach. Vector. Stahl's mandibles clicked nervously. Weapons? Unknown, sir. They're too large to be conventional missiles, too slow to be projectiles. They appear to be asteroids. Asteroids don't move in formation, observed Admiral Quill from her command ship. That's when the first guided asteroid came into visual range of the Coalition fleet. The massive rock, easily a kilometer across, adjusted its course with small thruster burns and aimed directly at the Coalition's lead squadron. Evasive maneuvers, Sital screamed. But the asteroid wasn't alone. Dozens of its siblings emerged from the belt, each one tracking a different alien ship. The Coalition fleet, designed for elegant formation flying, found itself trying to dodge mountains thrown by an insane species that had weaponized celestial mechanics. The first impact vaporized 6 Coalition ships instantly. The kinetic energy released was equivalent to a small nuclear weapon, and the shockwave damaged dozens of nearby vessels. Dr. Boram watched the battle from Earth's military command center, recording everything for the galaxy to see. As humanity's leading expert on alien psychology, she had prepared something special for this moment. Begin the broadcast, she ordered. Across all Coalition communication channels, Dr. Boram's transmission began. But instead of words, it started with images, scenes from human history that no peaceful species could comprehend. Ancient battles where humans fought with swords and shields. Gladiatorial arenas where they fought for entertainment. Modern wars where they used increasingly sophisticated ways to kill each other. And finally, footage from humanity's most recent conflicts, where they had perfected the art of warfare into something approaching science. Greetings, Coalition species, Dr. Boram said calmly. You are currently engaged in combat with humanity. Before you continue, you should understand what humans are. The broadcast showed human persistence hunting. Early humans chasing prey animals for days until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. It showed human warfare tactics, ambushes, sieges, psychological warfare designed to break enemy morale. Humans are apex predators, Dr. Boram explained. We evolved on a world where survival required killing things larger, stronger, and more dangerous than ourselves. We developed cooperation not for peace, but to hunt more effectively. The alien fleet watched in growing horror as the broadcast showed human training methods. Children learning to fight before they could walk properly. Soldiers practicing with weapons in conditions that would kill most alien species. Military academies where humans studied thousands of years of warfare like it was literature. You declared war on the species that invented war, Dr. Boram continued. You attacked the children of a world that produced no herbivores large enough to survive human hunting. Every large, peaceful creature on our planet went extinct because of us. Lieutenant Wu Jin led the first human ground assault on a Coalition world. His dropships descended through the atmosphere of Harmony Station, a beautiful world of crystal cities and floating gardens. What they found there broke something fundamental in both species. The moment human soldiers appeared, the alien colonists began dying. Not from weapons or violence, but from pure terror. Their nervous systems, evolved for a universe without predators, simply shut down when faced with the reality of something that hunted for survival. Command. This is Ground Team 1, Wu Jin reported, his voice shaken. We have a problem. The aliens they're dying just from seeing us. Dr. Su Young, monitoring from the medical bay of the assault ship, confirmed the impossible. It's predator-induced shock syndrome. Their bodies are shutting down from fear. We're not even fighting them. They're dying from panic. The human Soldiers found themselves in the surreal position of trying to save the people they had come to conquer. Medics rushed to treat aliens who were dying from the mere presence of humans. "This is insane," muttered Sergeant Byung-ho as he carried an unconscious alien to safety. "We haven't fired a shot and they're dropping like flies." Back in Coalition space, the emergency broadcast from the front lines painted a picture of absolute horror. The humans didn't just win battles. They turned warfare into an art form. Their ships appeared from impossible hiding places. Their weapons violated every principle of civilized combat. Their soldiers fought with a combination of intelligence and brutality that defied understanding. Worse, they seemed to enjoy it. Emperor Zatal received the final transmission from the front lines. Admiral Quill's voice, distorted by damage to her ship's communication systems, carried news that would change the galaxy forever. "Your Majesty," she reported, "we have confirmed the humans' nature. They are not just aggressive. They are the evolutionary opposite of our species. Where we developed cooperation and peace, they developed competition and warfare." "Are you saying they cannot be reasoned with?" "Sir, I'm saying they don't want to be reasoned with. They prefer fighting to talking. They see conflict as natural and necessary. They've turned destruction into a form of expression." The transmission cut to static as Admiral Quill's ship was destroyed by a human torpedo that had been following her for 3 hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. On Earth, General Tae-jin received reports from across human space. The Coalition's response fleets were being systematically destroyed by... The Coalition fleet approached Earth in perfect formation, their crystal ships gleaming like jewels against the starfield. Ambassador Hwan-Soo watched from the flagship's observation deck as they passed through the outer system. Everything was proceeding according to plan. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Veltar, "we're detecting automated distress signals from multiple human installations. It appears they have abandoned their outer colonies." "As expected," Hwan-Soo replied calmly. "Primitive species often retreat to their homeworld when faced with superior force. We'll collect the survivors after we secure the system." What the aliens didn't see were the human ships hiding in the asteroid belt. Colonel Dong-hyun floated in the zero gravity of his command ship, watching the alien fleet through passive sensors. His vessel, the Iron Wolf, had once been a mining ship. Now it carried a railgun that could punch holes through small moons. "All units, this is Wolf Leader," Dong-hyun whispered into his comm. "Targets are entering the kill zone. Remember, these aren't warships. They're passenger liners with fancy weapons. Hit them hard and fast." Around him, 40 modified mining vessels powered up their weapons. Each ship carried a railgun designed to crack asteroids, now loaded with tungsten rods and aimed at crystal hulls. The first alien ship died without ever knowing it was under attack. The tungsten rod hit the Coalition cruiser Peaceful Dawn at 30,000 kilometers per second. The crystal hull, designed to deflect energy beams, shattered like glass hit by a hammer. The beautiful ship came apart in a shower of glittering fragments. "Impossible!" General Jeth screamed from his command. "Ship, our shields were active. How did they penetrate our defenses?" "Sir, the projectile wasn't energy-based," his tactical officer reported, confusion clear in his voice. "It was a solid object moving at relativistic speeds." "Solid? But no civilized. Species uses kinetic weapons in space combat." Admiral Quill's voice crackled over the communication channel. "My ship is detecting multiple launch signatures from the asteroid field. They're using the rocks as cover." The second wave of tungsten rods reached the alien fleet. 3 more ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The Coalition formation, designed for mutual protection against energy weapons, became a liability as debris from destroyed vessels damaged their neighbors. Captain Subin piloted her stealth ship Ghost of Busan through the chaos, her sensors picking up alien communications. The conversations were panicked, confused, and completely unprepared for what was happening. "They're broadcasting in the clear," she reported to the human fleet. "No encryption, no tactical codes. They're asking each other what's happening." From the safety of the command bunker, General Tae-jin watched the battle unfold. They've never fought a real war, he realized. They don't even know how to maintain communication security under fire. Dr. Min Jung nodded. Remember, these species have had peace for millions of years. They've forgotten that enemies listen to your radio chatter. The third wave of human attacks came from a different direction. Captain Heejin's task force had been waiting behind Jupiter's largest moon, and now they struck the alien fleet's flank with nuclear-tipped missiles. The coalition ships, built for beauty and efficiency, had no point defense systems. No one had ever tried to shoot missiles at them before. The nuclear warheads detonated against crystalline hulls, turning elegant vessels into expanding clouds of radioactive gas. "Retreat," Ambassador Hwansu ordered. "All ships, emergency jump to Rally Point Beta." But Major Jin Ho was already moving. His boarding pod had been fired from a concealed launcher, following a ballistic trajectory that would intercept the alien flagship. The coalition sensors, designed to track energy signatures, never detected the small object moving on momentum alone. The boarding pod punched through the flagship's hull like a bullet through paper. Inside, Jin Ho and his team found themselves in a corridor that looked more like an art gallery than a warship. Soft lights, flowing curves, and not a single defensive position. "This is Boarding Team Alpha," Jin Ho reported over secure comm. "We're inside the alien flagship. No resistance, no security measures. It's like they've never had to repel borders." The human soldiers moved through the ship unopposed. The few aliens they encountered simply stared at them in shock. These peaceful beings had never seen armor-clad warriors carrying weapons designed to kill. Jin Ho reached the bridge and found Ambassador Hwansu floating in his meditation alcove, surrounded by holographic displays showing the destruction of his fleet. The alien looked up as the human soldier entered and for the first time in his ancient life felt pure terror. "Please," Hwansu whispered. "We meant no harm. We only wanted to help." Jin Ho removed his helmet, revealing a young human, face marked by old scars. "I'm sure you did, but you threatened our families." "We would never harm anyone. The coalition brings peace." "You brought war the moment you told us to surrender," Jin Ho replied. "In human culture, that's called an invasion." Outside, the battle continued. The coalition fleet, designed for overwhelming technological superiority, was being systematically destroyed by weapons they had never imagined. Human ships appeared from hiding spots throughout the solar system, each one armed with weapons that turned their advanced defenses into weaknesses. Captain Kyung Ho led the final assault wave, his ship Soul's Pride at the head of a formation of Earth's newest warships. These vessels had been built in secret over the past 50 years, designed specifically for fighting technologically superior enemies. "All ships, target the remaining command vessels," Kyung Ho ordered. "Let's end this." The last of the alien ships tried to flee, but human interceptors were faster, built for acceleration rather than comfort. Crewed by people who had grown up in Earth's gravity well, the human ships caught their prey and destroyed them with methodical efficiency. In 30 minutes, the coalition's grand fleet was reduced to debris and a handful of survivors. Admiral Sang-wook surveyed the aftermath from his command ship. "Casualty report?" "Minimal human losses, sir. We lost 2 interceptors and had some hull damage on the Iron Wolf. Estimated alien casualties." The officer paused. "Sir, I don't think they have enough survivors to count casualties." Back on the Mi, alien flagship Ambassador Hwansu found himself face-to-face with humanity's true nature. Major Jin Ho had secured the bridge without firing a shot, simply by walking through defenses that didn't exist. "How?" Hwansu asked. "How did you defeat us so easily?" Jin Ho sat down across from the alien, his rifle resting casually in his lap. "You want to know the truth? You never had a chance. But our technology is superior. Our ships are faster, our weapons more powerful." "Your ships are beautiful," Jin Ho agreed. "They're works of art. But they're not warships. Real warships are ugly, brutal things designed to kill other ships and keep fighting even when they're half destroyed." He gestured to the elegant bridge around them. "Look at this place. It's like a palace. Windows everywhere, open spaces, soft lighting. It's designed for comfort, not combat." "What's wrong with comfort?" "Nothing if you're not at war. But we are at war because you declared it." Jin Ho's expression was patient. like a teacher explaining something to a student. Our ships have no windows in combat areas. Our bridges are buried deep in armored hulls. We assume everything that can break will break, so we build backups for our backups. Huan Su's crystalline form dimmed. We never imagined such brutal thinking. Because you're prey, Jinho said simply. Your species evolved from creatures that were hunted. You learn to hide, to cooperate, to avoid conflict. That's not a bad thing. It's actually beautiful. But it means you can't understand predators. And humans are predators? Jinho nodded. The worst kind. We're persistence hunters. We don't just kill our prey. We chase it until it dies of exhaustion. We turned that hunting instinct into warfare, and we've been practicing for thousands of years. On Earth, Commander Jiwoo was analyzing the captured alien technology. What she found disturbed her more than any weapon could. General, she reported to Taijin, these aliens really have never fought a war. Look at their tactical systems. The holographic display showed the coalition fleet's command structure. It was completely open, with all ships sharing information in real time through unencrypted channels. They trust each other completely, Jiwoo continued. No security protocols, no backup command systems, no deception capabilities. They literally can't lie to each other. General Taijin stared at the display. They built their entire civilization on trust and cooperation. Yes, sir, and we just destroyed it in 30 minutes. The weight of what had happened began to sink. Humanity had just defeated a galactic civilization that had never learned to defend itself. It was like a pack of wolves attacking a herd of sheep, not a battle but a slaughter. Dr. Min Jung received the biological scans from the alien survivors. Her worst fears were confirmed. Sir, we need to be very careful how we handle prisoners. Their stress levels are off the charts. I think the experience of being attacked has traumatized them beyond anything their species has ever endured. How bad? Sir, I don't think their language even has words for what we just did to them. On the captured flagship, Ambassador Huan Su tried to understand what had happened. His species had existed for millions of years without experiencing violence. The concept of the Coalition War Council met in the crystal chambers of the flagship Eternal Harmony. 3 species sat around the glowing conference table, each representing billions of peaceful souls across the galaxy. General Zheth of the Vorthak Empire studied the human data with his large compound eyes. His people looked like tall, elegant insects made of living metal. They had evolved from herbivorous creatures on a world with low gravity, where conflicts were settled through elaborate dances rather than violence. The humans use kinetic weapons, Zheth said, his voice ringing like wind chimes. Metal projectiles fired by chemical explosions. Their most advanced weapons appear to be fusion-powered missiles. Admiral Quill of the Silicate Confederacy nodded, her crystalline head. Her people were living rock shaped by millions of years of peaceful evolution in asteroid belts. They had learned to build, not destroy, turning entire solar systems into beautiful works of art. Primitive beyond measure, Quill agreed. Our defensive screens will easily deflect such crude attacks. Their ships appear to be built for durability, rather than efficiency. Wasteful design. Ambassador Huan Su floated slightly above his chair, his energy form shimmering with concern. What troubles me is their response. No species has ever chosen war over our protection. Perhaps we should study them further before taking action. General Zheth's mandibles clicked in what his species considered laughter. Respected Ambassador, we have studied 847 species. All follow the same pattern. They resist, we demonstrate our superiority. They surrender. These humans are no different. But their entertainment media suggests unusual levels of aggression, Huan Su protested. They create stories about war, conflict, and something they call survival of the fittest. Admiral Quill's crystalline features glowed with amusement. Fiction, dear friend. All primitive species tell violent stories to express their fears. When they see real power, they abandon such fantasies. On Earth, a very different kind of war council was taking place. General Taijin stood before a holographic display showing the alien fleet in perfect detail. Around him, Humanity's best military minds studied their first real alien enemy. They're spread out in a standard patrol formation, observed Commander Jiwoo, highlighting sections of the display. Looks like they expect us to meet them head-on like a traditional fleet engagement. Admiral Sang-wook shook his head. Look at their ship design. Those crystals aren't just pretty. They're the hull material, strong against energy weapons but brittle. A good kinetic impact would shatter them like glass. What about their shields? Asked Colonel Dong-hyun. Energy-based, replied Dr. Min-jung, consulting her tablet. I've analyzed their demonstration on our orbital station. They use some kind of field that disrupts electrical systems, completely useless against physical objects. General Taijin smiled grimly. So they've evolved perfect defenses against energy weapons, but they've never faced anyone crazy enough to throw rocks at spaceships. Not just rocks, sir, said Captain Subin. We've had 300 years to perfect kinetic warfare, railguns, mass drivers, and good old-fashioned explosives. Admiral Sang-wook brought up another display. There's something else. Look at their fleet positioning. They're protecting each other, overlapping their shields to create a defensive barrier. It's textbook coalition doctrine. Meaning, they fight like they think, as a collective prioritizing group survival over individual advantage. They can't conceive of an enemy that would sacrifice some ships to destroy others. Dr. Min-jung leaned forward. I've been studying their biological data. All three species are herbivorous. The Vorthak evolved from creatures similar to Earth's butterflies. The silicates are basically living crystals that feed on starlight. The ethereals are energy beings that sustain themselves on electromagnetic radiation. No predators, General Tae-jin realized. None. In their evolutionary history, the biggest threat was starvation or natural disasters. They've never had to deal with something that actively hunted them. Min-jung's expression was troubled. Sir, I don't think they understand what humans are. Explain. They see us as just another herbivorous species that happens to be aggressive, like territorial plant eaters fighting over resources. They don't realize we're predators. She paused. They don't know we evolved to hunt and kill things bigger and stronger than ourselves. Back on the Eternal Harmony, the coalition leaders were making their final preparations. They had assembled a fleet of 200 ships, each one a masterpiece of advanced technology. Their weapons could disable entire planets without harming a single life form. Their shields could deflect anything the primitive humans might throw at them. The human response will likely be emotional, advised Dr. Kiln, the coalition's expert on primitive species psychology. They may attempt to ram our ships with their vessels or launch all their weapons in a final desperate attack. We should be prepared for irrational behavior. General Jeth agreed. Our scans show approximately 40 human ships in this system. Small, crude vessels armed with metal projectile weapons. We will simply disable them and transport the crews to safety. What about their ground forces? Asked Admiral Quill. Irrelevant. Once we control their space, we can land at our leisure and begin the pacification process. Historical data shows that primitive species become much more cooperative once they realize resistance is futile. Ambassador Hwan-su still felt uneasy, but he trusted the coalition's experience. They had brought peace to the galaxy for thousands of years. These humans would be no different. On the bridge of Seoul's Pride, Captain Kyung-ho received the final transmission from Earth Command. General Tae-jin's face appeared on the communication screen, looking older than his years but determined. Captain, you are authorized to begin Operation Sleeping Tiger. All human ships are to withdraw to secondary positions and wait for the signal. Understood, sir. And the civilians? Already evacuated to the deep shelters. Everyone who's staying behind volunteered. Tae-jin's expression softened slightly. Kyung-ho, I want you to know that what happens next isn't your fault. We didn't start this fight. But we're going to finish it, Kyung-ho replied. Damn right we are. The Seoul's Pride and the rest of the human fleet began pulling back from Earth, appearing to retreat in the face of superior numbers. On the alien ships, this confirmed what the coalition had expected. The humans were finally showing sense. But in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Captain Subin waited in her stealth ship Ghost of Busan. Around her, hidden in the rocks and ice, Dozens of other human vessels lay silent and invisible. Modified mining ships, armed freighters, and purpose-built warships designed for one thing: killing enemies who thought they were safe. Major Jin Ho checked his assault armor one final time. His boarding team was crammed into a modified cargo pod, waiting for the moment when they would be fired like a bullet at the alien flagship. They had studied every piece of alien technology they could find, learned every weakness. The aliens built beautiful ships for beautiful people living beautiful lives. Humans built ugly ships designed to keep working even when half destroyed, crewed by people who had spent their entire species' existence learning new ways to break things. Dr. Minjung watched the alien fleet advance toward Earth from the safety of the command bunker. "They still don't understand," she said quietly. "Understand what?" asked General Tae-jin. "They think we're like them. They think we're a peaceful species that just happens to be temporarily violent. They don't realize that we're not broken versions of them." She turned to face the general. "We're something completely different. We're what happens when evolution builds the perfect killer and then gives it a conscience. And right now? Right now they've threatened our families. Our conscience is taking a coffee break." The alien fleet reached Earth's outer defenses and began their systematic advance. Their sensors detected the retreating human ships and marked them as defeated. Their computers calculated the time needed to pacify each human world. Their leaders prepared speeches about the benefits of coalition membership. None of them noticed the small objects drifting among the asteroids. None of them realized that every piece of space debris in the solar system had been carefully catalogued and positioned. None of them understood that humans had spent 3 centuries turning their entire star system into the galaxy's most elaborate. Trap Ambassador Huan Su looked at the beautiful blue world growing larger on his screen. Soon another species would join the coalition family. Another group of primitives would learn to live in peace under wise guidance. He had no way of knowing that he was looking at the homeworld of the galaxy's apex predators. He couldn't imagine that the peaceful-looking planet below had produced a species so dangerous that they had to invent rules to limit their own capacity for destruction. In 6 hours, the coalition would learn why every human military academy taught the same basic lesson. Humans weren't the strongest or fastest or smartest species in the universe. They were just the only species crazy enough to strap explosives to themselves and charge at something bigger. The countdown to war began, and across human space, millions of predators prepared to do what they did best. The massive alien ship dropped out of hyperspace like a falling star. Its crystal hull caught the light from Earth's sun and threw rainbows across the darkness. Ambassador Huan Su had never seen anything so beautiful or so terrifying. Captain Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of the human defense vessel Soul's Pride, watching the alien ship through the main view screen. The ship was easily 10 times the size of his own vessel. Its smooth, flowing lines made it look more like a work of art than a warship. But Kyung-ho had been in the military long enough to know that pretty things could still kill you. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Daun from her communication station. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls as she worked to decode the alien message. It's in perfect Korean, sir, and English, and what looks like every human language." Kyung-ho raised an eyebrow. "How is that possible?" "They must have been watching us for a while," Daun replied, her voice tight with worry. "The transmission is coming through now." The main screen flickered and changed. Instead of stars, they now saw a tall, graceful being with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its large, dark eyes seemed kind, almost sad. When it spoke, its voice was soft and musical. "Greetings, primitive beings of the 3rd planet," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Huan Su of the Galactic Coalition of Peaceful Worlds. We have observed your species and determined that you require our guidance and protection." Kyung-ho felt his jaw clench. He had heard those words before, just in different languages. Every dictator in human history had used similar phrases before, taking away people's freedom. The alien continued, "Your species shows dangerous tendencies toward violence and self-destruction. For the good of galactic peace, we must place your worlds under coalition protection. You have 72 of your hours to surrender all military assets and prepare for relocation to designated safe zones." The transmission paused, An ambassador, Huan Su's expression became what might have been a smile on a human face. We understand this may seem frightening, but we have successfully guided 847 species into peaceful, productive lives under coalition care. Resistance will only bring suffering. We hope you will choose wisdom. The screen went dark. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Kyung-ho looked around at his crew. Da-eun's face was pale. The navigator ensign, Tae-min, was staring at his instruments like they might have the answers. Weapons officer Jun-ho had his hand resting on his control panel, knuckles white. "Well," Kyung-ho said finally. "That was polite." "Sir?" Da-eun asked. "They said please," Kyung-ho replied with a grim smile. "Most invaders don't bother with manners." He turned to his communications officer. "Da-eun, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors, and they're not here for tourism." "What should we tell them about the ultimatum?" Kyung-ho thought for a moment. "Tell them the aliens want us to surrender in 3 days. Also tell them the aliens think we're primitive and dangerous." He paused. They got half of that right. Back on the alien ship, Ambassador Huan Su floated in his meditation chamber, surrounded by soft lights and gentle music. His species, the ethereals, had evolved beyond the need for violence millions of years ago. They had transcended their physical forms and existed as beings of pure energy, housed in beautiful crystalline bodies. The coalition had brought peace to most of the galaxy through patient guidance and superior technology. When primitive species refused to accept help, the coalition would simply disable their weapons and transport them to better worlds where they could learn to live without violence. Huan Su reviewed the human data again. The species was young, barely 10,000 years since they developed agriculture. They still used crude chemical weapons and kinetic projectiles. Their ships relied on fusion engines instead of proper quantum drives. Most concerning, their entertainment seemed to focus on conflict and competition. The ethereal shook his crystalline head sadly. Humans reminded him of the Karathi, another warrior species the coalition had rescued 2 centuries ago. The Karathi had also refused initial contact and tried to fight back. Now they lived happily in agricultural communes, their violent instincts bred out through careful genetic therapy. "Sir," came a soft voice through the chamber's communication system. "The humans have responded to our message." "Already?" Huan Su was surprised. Most species took at least a day to discuss surrender terms. "What do they say?" They declined our offer of protection, sir. They said, and I quote, "Thanks, but we're good. Please leave our space within 24 hours or we will consider your presence an act of war." Huan Su felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Confusion. They threatened us? But surely they understand our technological superiority. The message included detailed scans of our fleet, sir. They know exactly what they're facing. The ambassador floated silently for several minutes. In all his years of diplomatic service, no species had ever responded to coalition protection with threats. The primitive species usually begged for mercy or tried to hide. The advanced species recognized coalition superiority and negotiated terms. But humans had looked at ships that could destroy planets and said no. Perhaps they misunderstood, Huan Su decided. Prepare a demonstration. Disable one of their orbital stations, something small and uninhabited. When they see what our weapons can do, they will accept our help. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Tai Jin stood in the war room deep beneath the Himalayan mountains. Holographic displays showed the alien fleet in perfect detail. Every ship was tagged with threat assessments, weak points, and attack vectors. "They're beautiful," admitted Commander Jiwoo, studying the graceful alien vessels. "Almost too pretty to shoot." "Almost," agreed Tae-jin. "But we're going to shoot them anyway." He turned to the assembled officers. "What's our situation?" Admiral Sang-wook stepped forward. "The good news is that their ships are poorly designed for combat. Lots of windows, exposed systems, and what looks like a focus on comfort over protection. The bad news is that each one of those ships could probably glass a continent." Dr. Min Jung, raised her hand. Sir, I've been analyzing their physiology from the transmission. The ambassador appears to be some kind of energy being in a crystal shell, very advanced but also very fragile. I don't think these aliens understand physical violence at all. Explain. Look at their ship design. Everything is smooth curves and open spaces. No armor plating, no backup systems that I can see. It's like they've never had to design something to survive being shot at. Min Jung pulled up comparative images. Compare that to our ships. Redundant systems, armor plating, sealed bulkheads. We build everything like it's going to be attacked. General, Taejin nodded slowly. Because it usually is. In human space, everything from pirates to solar flares is trying to kill you. Exactly. I think we're dealing with species that have lived in perfect peace for so long that they've forgotten what war actually means. Then we're going to remind them. Taejin said grimly. Admiral, begin Operation Sleeping Tiger, all ships to battle stations, and send a message to our colonies. If the aliens want a war, they're going to get one they'll never forget. The human response fleet began moving toward the alien ships, small angular vessels built for war, crewed by a species that had spent its entire existence fighting, first each other, then the hostile universe itself. Above Earth, the alien demonstration began. A beam of pure energy reached out from the Coalition flagship and touched one of humanity's orbital manufacturing stations. The station simply stopped. Its lights went out, its rotation ceased, and it began drifting in space. Fascinating, murmured Dr. Min Jung, watching the display. They disabled it without destroying it, no explosions, no debris. They're trying to avoid casualties. General Taejin's smile was cold. How considerate of them. The alien transmission came again. Ambassador Hwansu appeared on the screen looking even more sad than before. We have demonstrated our peaceful intentions by disabling your station without harm. Your people aboard are uninjured and will be rescued shortly. Please reconsider our offer of protection. Captain Kyung-ho activated the human response channel. His image appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet. A scarred, weathered man in military uniform, flanked by weapons and battle flags. Ambassador Hwansu, Kyung-ho said, his voice calm and polite. Thank you for your concern for our welfare. However, we must respectfully decline your offer. You have attacked our property and threatened our freedom. We consider this an act of war. The aliens' crystalline features showed confusion. But we harmed no one. We simply demonstrated our ability to help you. You disabled our station without permission. In human culture, that's called an attack. Kyung-ho's smile was sharp as a blade. We're giving you one chance to leave peacefully. After that, we respond the way humans always respond to attacks. And how is that? Ambassador Hwansu asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. Kyung-ho's smile widened. We hurt you back. But we hurt you back much, much worse. The transmission ended, leaving the alien fleet to contemplate humanity's response. In his meditation chamber, Ambassador Hwansu felt something new and disturbing. The first flutter of fear he had experienced in over 1,000 years. He had no way of knowing that across human space, millions,